We asked the executive directors of the 4 major North Carolina fisheries organizations if we could interview them. The organizations included the Division of Marine Fisheries, the Coastal Conservation Association, the Fisheries Association, and the Marine Fisheries Commission. We asked each executive director what 3 to 4 topics they would like to discuss. We also asked our viewers to submit questions of their own. All organizations agreed to be interviewed with one exception. The Coastal Conservation Association declined the opportunity.
Hi there, Bill Hitchcock. Welcome to the program. This is the third part of a 3-part series where we have been interviewing the executive directors of various and different marine fisheries organizations here in North Carolina. This time we've got the chairman, Rob Bizzell, on a Zoom call. Rob, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
This is
his former chairman, by the way.
Well, you spilled the beans on me. You spilled the beans. When I contacted Rob, he was one of the very, within an hour, he responded back, yeah, well, I'll do it. But in between the yes and right now, the magical thing happened where you are now the former chairman of the North Carolina Marine Fisheries Commission. And this is what I want to do, Rob. You've been the chairman for what, 12 years?
Chairman for about 10 years, but on the commission for 12.
For 12. Okay, I think we got a little hung up here with, let's see if this comes on back through. Hopefully, Rob, this will unfreeze on us. But what I wanted to talk about is he's got 12 years of experience on the Marine Fisheries Commission. So let's just go. I wanted to talk to him. What was important? Rob, are you back? Yay.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, been doing a little buffering this morning, it looks like.
Yep. What I wanted to ask you, Rob, 12 years ago, and I'm sorry I'm going to do a cruel thing to you. It's cruel to me. I'm going to ask about your memory because mine works whenever it wants to. 12 years ago, what were the issues with the Marine Fisheries Commission? What were you facing 12 years ago?
Might not come as a surprise to you, but it was flounder. We were talking about flounder back then. We did not take the measures then that we should have taken to protect the resource, protect the species, and we didn't cut the harvest as much as we should have. And now, 12 years later, we're still paying for it.
Is that was it because of the flounder specific, the data that you had, or just at that time period we didn't know what we didn't know?
Well, it was. We kind of caved in to a bunch of requests that, you can't do this to us. We depend on flounder, blah, 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 blah. And there's enough folks on the commission at the time to say, yeah, we know it's in bad shape, but it can't be that bad. So we won't do the recommended cuts to that degree. We, as a general rule, staff gives you a low and a high amount that you should cut harvest whenever we need to cut harvest, and every time we'd err on the low side, and it just wasn't enough.
Now, will this carry over? Now, right now, I can feel confident somebody's yelling at the computer screen going, I told you so, I told you so. Yeah. Has this carried over to other fisheries?
To a degree. You always hear this from well, actually, both sectors, the commercial sector, because, well, that's how they make their money. That's how they put food on the table. And I understand that, and I'm sympathetic and empathetic for that. But still, we got to take care of the resource. And then you hear it from the recreational community. It's like last year's flounder season. The recreational community knew what bad shape we were in, but they went out there for those 2 weeks and pounded away at them. And they overharvested. So it's hard to point out to one group as the cause of it, but you'll hear it from like with the striped mullet. It's a roe fishery industry basically, and they don't want us to cut back on the striped mullet, but we did. We had to. We took a minimal approach to it, and we're just going to have to see. But yeah, it has filtered over to other species where nobody wants it cut. data can't be right. I remember one time we were talking about speckled trout years back, and they say, "Oh, I see plenty of speckled trout," and you got to trust the scientists. That's their mama sent them to school to learn how to take care of these resources, and we got to listen to them.
Well, let me ask you about that. You have to have the data.
Yeah.
How often, this is an unfair question, how often do you receive data that you're going to look at and make determinations on? How often is data updated?
The data should be updated every 5 years. And that's the actual life of a fishery management plan is 5 years. We go back, take a look how it's done, do a new stock assessment, and make new decisions. Do we need to cut back more, or can we loosen things up a little bit? And we're limited by the people that we have to do these stock assessments. We're limited by the money that it takes to do these. We're limited by a number of things. And I think all in all, the staff does an outstanding job, especially with their limited resources.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is something I've been wondering about for a long time. Generally speaking, within the fishing community, the only thing that we really think about that's going to impact a fishery, regardless of what the fishery is fishing. Right. Well, both of us have been along the coast for a long time. We've seen development, things such as that nature. How does that things, and I'll pick on development, how does that come into being when you're making a management decision? Where it might not be fishing per se, it could be something else.
It's really not that much fishing per se, but that is a factor. In my opinion, the biggest factor is climate change.
How so?
We got a phone call from Massachusetts Fish and Wildlife saying, "Can you tell me what a spot is all about?" Spot now are showing up off the coast of Massachusetts because the water's warm. And that is something that is frustrating to me because we can't control that.
Right.
We can't control that. If we get, I used to chase tarpon a whole lot in the Neuse Pamlico, and I learned a lot early on, like 30 years ago, about how the climate can affect things. If we get a lot of rain and the salinity goes down in the Neuse River, well, the tarpon are going to be out in the sound. If we don't get a lot of rain and the salinity is up, I've caught one where I could see the bridge in Newbern. I mean, they will migrate with the way the environment has changed. But everybody kind of stuck their head in the sand when we started talking about climate change and the seasons are warming up and things aren't like they used to be when we were growing up, when we were little boys. And I got, everybody said, "Oh, no. It's just one of those things." Well, it's real. It's real.
Well, let me ask you this, because, I mean, we could spend the next evers talking about climate change. My big question when people say climate change, my response is always, when hasn't it? It's always changed.
It's always changed, true.
So when you say climate change, are we just saying, well, it's a natural course of things? Or are we saying, oh, we've got too much carbon, we need to change this, that, and the other thing? What are we saying or alluding to?
I think we're saying all the above. I think, especially in the Asian nations, Asian countries, they're putting too much carbon in the atmosphere.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yes.
But somebody explained to me that the Earth is not on a perfect tilt.
That's correct.
And when it goes around the sun, and it will wobble. And right now, they say we're at a point in the wobble where it's a little closer to the sun, which that makes total sense to me. So, I mean, this is way above my pay grade, but I can go along with that. I can subscribe to that.
Well, I got to interject because it's been kind of a pet peeve for me, and I don't want to get too sidetracked here. Over a third of the carbon released in the air comes from China.
Right.
94% of all plastics in the ocean come from 10 rivers. 8 of those rivers, China. There was just well, it's been made mention, that's coming up now, that shrimp trawls dig up carbon. Well, those studies were done in China. I mean, they're talking about trawls that the wings, the like 10 747 plane width long. We don't have that here.
No.
So that is kind of a pet peeve of mine. But how is it kind of, and because I want to move forward, is it not somewhat futile to react to climate change? Because like I said, it always changes.
Well, we've got to react to it because it's there. But it's going a big. It's a factor that it's making a big impact on the resource. So, where we may had, 20, 30 years ago, resource this big, because of climate change is like this, and we've got to manage that resource.
Which do you think would be a greater have a greater impact, climate change or development? For here in North Carolina, just talk
Climate change. Now, development does enter into it. Because a lot of these developments, they get rid of a natural shoreline.
Right. Right.
And a lot of these houses near the water have a septic system. And when you get a lot of rain, septic system fails and it's discharged into the water.
And also impervious surfaces, so groundwater runoff.
Impervious surfaces have a lot of runoff. They put fertilizer on their grass. That gets into the water. I mean, if we went back to whenever the settlers first came here and had the type of environment they had then, it'd be great for the resource, but we're not there.
Yeah, I remember John Lawson writing in his the book that I read that when in the 1700s when they came here that they were catching red drum by the barrelfuls. Everybody
Yep.
So, well, look, Rob, let me switch gears on you because I don't want to eat up everything on climate change. One of the things that's really, really important to me is public input, public comments, and in every Marine Fisheries Commission quarterly meeting, there's open comment period, which is, memory serves, it's always like 2 different sessions, plus people can write in, email in. It used to be faxing. I don't know if anybody faxes anymore.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but I want to talk about the importance of that. Now, you, as the chairman of the Marine Fisheries Commission, how much did you pay attention to what was being said, to the input from the public?
I paid a lot of attention to it. I like getting the comments ahead of time. So, while you're sitting there doing nothing, you can just kind of go through and you might keep a list of this issue, for and against, and just kind of click things off like that.
Right.
And it gives you an idea of how everybody kind of feels. But also to come there in person and share your emotions and your real feelings about something is always a good thing. Always.
Right. Well, and I think I asked Kathy Rawls this question. What would you recommend to the general public when it comes to public input? Because what I see, just as a part of the general public, is a bazillion people, bazillion voices going da 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 da, and maybe you just can't hear them all. Should you band together? A fishing club with this is the one thing we want to talk about, or what would you prefer folks to do, or maybe just the one-on-one method is the best way?
Yeah, I like the one-on-one method. Now, there's been a time or two where, because I limited everybody to 3 minutes.
Right.
I feel like if we went beyond 3 minutes, we're being lectured to.
Yep.
And they can make their point very succinctly in 3 minutes.
Yep.
And so there's one time when we're talking about speckled trout, a group of guys asked, we would like to kind of give a panel presentation. There's 4 of us that want to come up there and sit, and one wants to take one topic, one wants to take another topic. I said, fine, but y'all limited 3 minutes apiece.
Right.
And that was pretty interesting, pretty good.
One of the things that I've encouraged, particularly after this last Marine, now when we're doing this October 2024, you just had a Marine Fisheries Commission meeting, a quarterly meeting in Raleigh. One of the things I was encouraging folks to do before the meeting is to at least have bullet points on what you want to talk about, because believe it or not, 3 minutes goes by fast.
It goes by. Yes.
And I saw it in this last meeting that there were folks that they didn't finish because they weren't prepared. Now, I'm not talking about writing a speech necessarily, but at least have bullet points and time yourself before you show up.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I'm sure you've seen that a lot where people, they just run out of time because they're getting lost in the woods.
That's right. You get lost in the weeds. Yep, they sure do.
So, on the subject of flounder, we had a very interesting, unique situation happen in between the Marine Fisheries Commission and the Wildlife Resources Commission, where they went on and opened up the flounder season for 2 weekends in inland waters. And there was somewhat of a, well, I'll just say it appeared to be, was there any headbutting there? Was it, oh, I hate you? What happened?
Yeah, there was an headbutt. They did it inland and joint waters.
And joint waters.
Yeah. See, right now, they found some little provision that says they have sole hook and line authority in joint waters. We have contended since the beginning of time that is our authority.
Let me stop you. In joint waters, the Wildlife Resources Commission was saying that they're the boss, no one else.
Right. They make
Interesting.
rules, regulations, seasons, creel limits, size limits, all that for hook and line and fishery.
Was that a new concept that was brought up, or was anybody aware of that? Or
if you hadn't been aware of it, I don't know, been on Mars or somewhere.
Well, I have many times.
But this came up roughly 3 years ago.
Okay.
We've had meetings, and we have looked at drawing lines of delineation about where their authority is, where our authority is. And I came up with the great conclusion that, first off, fish don't read lines. Fish go where fish go.
The one thing I know about a fish, by the way, is the moment you think you haven't figured it out, it's going to prove you stupid.
So I came up with the idea. I said, why not let us take care of marine and estuarine resources wherever they show up? And wildlife, y'all take care of inland species wherever they show up. See, we were going to have sole authority over all of Currituck Sound.
Right.
And Currituck Sound has some real good largemouth bass fishing. We don't know a darn thing about a largemouth bass. So to me, that made the most sense. Let the experts take care of what they are good at.
Right.
Well, now it's still out there. Nobody in Raleigh has made the ultimate decision that this is how it's going to be. And at one meeting, I said, so y'all think you have sole authority over hook and line fishing? They said, yes. Why haven't you used your authority in the past? Heard crickets. And so when they came out wanting to have this, I think it was either 2 or 4 day season, right around Labor Day when everybody was going to be at the beach and the resources were going to get hammered again. I wrote their chairman, Monty Crump, who I consider a friend of mine. I said, Monty, if y'all do this, my guys are going to be up there writing tickets again like we did last year. Well, then we got strongly encouraged to let's get through this season. Don't write them tickets. Want y'all to endorse the 4 day season and we'll move on and then get this resolved. Well, we bit our lip and went ahead and did it. And I wouldn't say we had any headbutting, but we had a strong disagreement about how things should go.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, out on the water, it can be deceptive where you are in the water. When we're talking, say you're on the Neuse River or something like that. You see land over there, you see land over there, and am I in between these 2 points where I'm crossing over? Are you aware from this past September with the flounder fishery of somebody getting busted? Somebody had a flounder, because see, that was the thing that really worried me. Somebody legally catch a flounder in inland waters and then motivate on into saltwater and get busted. Are you aware of anything like that?
No, I'm not. In fact, we knew there was a possibility that could happen, that if somebody transported a flounder into coastal waters, they could possibly get a ticket, but this is one of those times that we just said, let's just get through this. Let's just let this go.
All right. I mean, time is of the essence for us right now. So I'm going to jump to on a few topics. Number one, what would you like to, now that you're no longer the chairman, and I assume not on the board, on the commission anymore,
No.
you're a civilian.
Civilian.
What would you like to see done, not necessarily just through the Marine Fisheries Commission, but here in the state of North Carolina? If you could just like wave a magic wand, I wish this would happen, what would it be?
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that one. But I tell you what I like to do, since we're on the topic of fisheries, I might just say, let's try for world peace or something like that. But since we're talking about fisheries, and every agency is going to say this, we're greatly underfunded.
Okay.
We need primarily twice as many as enforcement people as we have.
Yes.
We're looking at doing something with false albacore. We see that train wreck coming. They're being used for bait, and there's a lot of them out there, but if it keeps on being hammered like it has been, there won't be a lot out there shortly.
Right.
And so, and these are good things y'all are doing, but we're not going to be able to enforce them. We don't have the people. And so I'd love to see more money for enforcement.
Right.
And I know wildlife needs more money for enforcement. I'd love to see some more money for research too. I mean, without the data, you're dead in the water.
Wasn't that one of the main reasons for the recreational saltwater license, to be able to put money back into the system for things such as this?
Yes, and it has worked, but we need more.
Need more. So, boy, people are going to hate me some more.
Hate me.
Yeah, really. Could that come in the form of it costs more to buy a license, or are there other avenue streams available to us?
I'm sure there are, and license fees. Anytime anytime a license fee goes up, it has to be approved by the General Assembly.
Right.
And which I wish we could get away from that model, but that's what we have to deal with.
Let me stop you there. You would like to get away from that model. What other model is there?
Let the regulators know what is a fair and adequate fee. I mean, let us know what a fee the appropriate fee is for a fishing license,
right?
And that the wildlife do for a hunting license,
right?
And we don't want to price a license so high it stifles the citizens from using it from big hunter and fishermen.
Well, the thing that immediately comes to mind is, I think the number is like 20,000 subsistence fishermen that that are out there. They're fishing. These are not commercial fishermen. These are just citizens that are fishing for food because they're in low economic situation. So, and I believe it's like in the 20,000 range. They got to go to the Department of the Social Services and get approved through them. So when I'm hearing price increase, there's a lot of folks that even if it was like $5, that would mean something to them.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
And that's part of it. That's part of it. We don't want to not let them fish.
Right.
But also, I feel like licenses I need to take a real good look at it. And I hadn't in a while, but I think we are still underpriced on a fishing license.
Now, I don't know. I mean, what about other states? Are we in line?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. It's been a while since I've taken a look at that.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let me just bullet some things out here. I hear a lot. Well, everybody hears a lot. That why do we have the XYZ regulation in North Carolina, or why do we permit XYZ in North Carolina when Louisiana doesn't, South Carolina doesn't, Virginia doesn't? Why do we seem to be the redheaded stepchild? Pardon me for saying that when it comes to things like that.
Yeah. Well, I hear that a lot too. And the thing is, you look at all these states, and these states are different. Their topography is different. The amount of saltwater marshes they have is different. We're blessed in North Carolina. We are definitely blessed in North Carolina. And you got different people with different agendas running how you manage a resource. So it's, there's not an answer for that. It's just that, well, we're all different. And this is what they decided to do, and this is what we decided to do.
Can't we all get along?
Yeah.
Rob, we're running out of time. I certainly do appreciate it. Any closing comments that you would like to make as the former chairman of the Marine Fisheries Commission?
What kind of chairman?
Former.
Thank you.
Shall I now say fishing, able to fish former? Right. Any final comments?
I was honored to serve on the commission, very honored to be its chairman. I took my job seriously, as do most all our commissioners. And I hope I made a positive difference, but time will tell. And our staff at the Division of Marine Fisheries is top notch. They really care. They try their best. And I was proud to be associated with those people there. And we just don't know how lucky we are to have the system in place that we do.
Fantastic. We've been talking with Rob Bizzell, the former chairman of the Marine Fisheries Commission. He was the chairman for 10 years. He was on the commission for 12 years. He's now going to get to go fish, finally. And again, we asked 4 organizations, 3 said yes. Rob was the very first person. When I asked, I just shot him an email. Boom, within an hour, I got a response from him. So, Rob, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Bill, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
You too.